Hi everyone, it's Diane with Batik, and today is Fabric Friday. It is August, and last week we set out a whole bunch of plans for various sewing projects that I think except for maybe just a backing, no, we actually talked about a project for every single one of our fabric collections. So every single one, and the jersey knit, the linen, yeah, I think every single one. So I want to give you an update on two of those projects, and then we're going to share a whole bunch of fun in our summer savings event, which is a collection of items that we've selected. Bruce and I took some time to select fabrics that we wanted to share savings on. And this time it is both rayon, I shouldn't say both, three, rayon, jersey knit, and our 115-inch wide fabric. We've selected a few of each one of those. So I'm going to share those collections with you. And then I'm going to answer a couple of customer questions as well that I think will be really, really good, informative questions. But first, let's jump back and talk about a couple of projects. One of the projects is for our Batik Rayon, and we specifically selected the Flock Together. This is the fabric, and it's flocked together in the shade of cerulean, and we're making a jacket. It is a shawl collar jacket, and it's really going to be, I think it's going to be really amazingly beautiful. I'm doing a couple things. This isn't a new pattern for me, but Kathy is sewing the garment, and we decided to make a couple of adjustments. And it's going to be fun to share with you the jacket that I currently have and compare it to how we changed it for this flocked together cerulean fabric. I really wanted to shorten up the jacket. It's really quite long, and I think that is truly why it takes so much yardage. If you take a look at our garment kit that's on our website right now, I'm really shortening by, I think, 4 to 5 inches. And then we'll talk about that when we get the jacket, but Kathy is busy working on that, and I'm hoping we can have that as a feature for next Friday. But if Kathy's watching, she's probably panicking now, which is not really what I wanted to do. But anyway, we will talk about that one next week in more detail as well. But I just can't wait to see how this turns out in the cerulean, which is a new item on our website too. The project I am working on right now is, and if you follow us on our Facebook and Instagram, you've probably seen a couple of pictures of this project. And I decided to start with the Diane Open Wide 2.0. And I'm going to show you the cover of that. And I was looking at this and looking at this and looking at this. And I want to just share with you my process when I think about making any project. And this one being smaller zippered pouches. For example, the small one measures 4 inches high by 7.5 inches wide by 3 inches deep. It's pretty small. And these are meant for whether they be traveling accessory bags or using them for, I don't know, things for work, or it can be for anything. Anything that's considered a zipper pouch, to me, has endless possibilities for what you can put inside of it. The large bag is 9 inches tall. So now we're getting to some height. So 9 inches tall, 12 inches wide by 6 inches deep. So I was looking at each one of these individually, and I thought to myself, how am I going to provide project kits for you all? And I didn't really like the concept of making a kit for the small, a kit for the medium, or a kit for the large. And so I just got that out of my head and told myself I can't cut up our canvas so tiny that all I'm doing is spending time cutting up yardage of canvas. As you know, our canvas is 57 inches wide. And so here's my dilemma. The small kit would be a fat quarter of the main fabric, the lining, and a half yard of the coordinate. When you cut up canvas, I don't look at canvas as a fat quarter. So I decided to challenge myself to see if I were to make all 3 sizes, which would be really a great thing to have if you're traveling, is to have coordinating bag sizes. So I said, how much yardage would it take if I were to use my 57-inch wide canvas to make all 3? So I decided to make a set. And with a set, it really becomes super economical. So when you see these projects for this particular Open Wide 2.0 on our website, you will see a kit that will support all 3 sizes. Now, I will promise you this as well. If I have remnant pieces of canvas, I will definitely attempt to cut those up and make kits that are just individually small, medium, and large. But for now, it's one kit that you can make 3 bags with. So it really only takes 5/8 of a yard of 57-inch wide canvas, slightly more than a half a yard of soft and stable, because soft and stable is 60 inches wide on average. And then a lining piece, because I always think I'm going to pre-quilt this, so I want a lining piece that's just slightly bigger than my canvas. So I have a lining piece that's going to measure about 24 inches by 62-ish or so, and that's going to be cut from our cotton. And then I have a coordinate, and the coordinate fabric, if I cut it out of 45-inch wide fabric, is only 3/4 of a yard. So we can really create 3 bags with a smaller amount of fabric. And I'm really glad that I was able to put all this together. And here's what I end up having to do. You should see my cheat sheets. So I take and draw out how I can cut all of this stuff out of 57-inch wide canvas. And I will have a nice clean version of this for you as an addendum to our kit. You'll see the instructions on how to cut it out after you've quilted the fabric. And then I also, to come up with the coordinate, look at all my chicken scratches. This is what I have to do to figure this out. Now, not everybody shares their behind the scenes, but it works out. So, in addition to the fabric, we also have pockets inside this bag, and you're probably wondering why I'm not showing you a finished bag. It's because I'm not done. But inside the bag, and I'm going to stand up and show you right here, there are 4 pockets, 2 on each side, on the long side of the bag, and they are mesh. And the mesh pocket is going to expand, and it's a great way to use fold over elastic and mesh to make a pocket. And you can see what's inside your zipper pouch because, of course, you can see through the mesh. If you had regular fabric, you wouldn't be able to see so well. And I just think it's a great way to use mesh and fold over elastic. And so I added up all of the components and supplies that you need for these bags. And so you'll end up needing 2 packages of the fold over elastic, which will be in the kit. The mesh is a half a yard. In one of the packages, the mesh is a half a yard. So it's a half a yard by 54. And you only need half of that for all 3 bags. And then the zippers. The zipper, what we will do in our kits is we'll cut it off of the zipper by the yard so that you have, it takes about 45 inches, yes, like 1.25 yards of the zipper plus 1 zipper pull for each bag. And that's about, 45 inches worth of the zipper. So all of that will be in the kit, and it's going to be priced so well. It's just I'm so excited about it. And but that's why I think when you look at the website, or if you want to make a small bag or a large bag, make all 3, because once you start making these, you aren't going to stop. And they are a wonderful gift. And no one will know that they all have the same colorway if you're giving out a medium and a large and a small to somebody else. You know, each individual person gets a different one, so don't worry about that. Okay, I am going to share with you the different fabrics that I selected for my pouches, and I have already organized everything. So I'm going to put this on an overhead and take you through each one of the components and show you what I did. As you can see, I have just started my projects. Everything is cut out and ready to start assembling. And this is the large pouch, this is the medium, and this is the small. I selected, well, I should take that back. I was testing my abilities to do crosshatch quilting on my long arm, and so I decided to quilt up the fabric for this specific project. And this is the canvas. Now, this doesn't have to be a canvas fabric for these pouches, but I just decided that I really wanted to use the canvas and feature one of the hand-dyed canvases, and not always I always have this tendency to go to one of the fabrics that's a motif, but I really love the hand-dyed look of this lilac. So I selected lilac, canvas, and then of course they're soft and stable in here, and then this is a cotton. This is one of our 115-inch wide cottons, and it is the Phoenix motif in sherbet blue. At first I didn't know if these two colorways kind of went together, but they really do, and I really like the look. And at first I was going to take my lining fabric and then just continue that to be my binding and my coordinate. All of the handles, all of the details would also be this fabric. But then, as I was looking at ideas, I asked Kathy her opinion. And Kathy, I just grabbed this fabric, and I'll just pick up one of these pieces here. But this is Medora Flora. And again, this is one of our cotton fabrics. And it is the shade of Pinot Noir. And look at that. Isn't that just absolutely gorgeous? I didn't even think to put that with that. And I really love it. And it also, with the zipper, you know, I go bold with my zippers. And so with this zipper, it really brings out some of the pink. And I think it's going to finish off the bag really, really nicely. So I really appreciated Kathy's input in selecting a totally different third fabric for the coordinate. Okay, so those are the fabrics that I'm using, and let me put this back in its rightful place. So I'm going to take you through what's needed for each one of these pouches, but I'm just going to use the medium pouch because when I went through the process of quilting everything, cutting everything out, and getting everything organized, doing everything, basically 3 times, is sometimes takes the whole project. It extends the whole project, but I'm going to do every single one of them at the same time, following the same steps. And I think it will be easier on me to finish these bags that way. And as I start sewing these bags together tonight, I will take video so that we can do learn how to make one of these open wide 2.0s, like a tutorial for you. So you always have that tutorial. So if you're new to Diane bags, this is a great one. And it will teach you how to work with the mesh, how to work with your zipper, how to work with the fold over elastic, and it's just really going to be fun to do. So I'm going to set these 2 aside, and we're just going to concentrate right now on one size, and this is the medium size bag. Each one of these, let me kind of set these aside here, but you basically need your main fabric piece, and this, if you think about it, becomes your bag. So it will be about this size when you're finished. This is the medium bag, okay? So you can kind of get an idea. If you were to set this next to a pattern piece or the pattern cover here, this measures about 5 by 7. And so it's not too much bigger than that 5x7. And of course, it's going to have depth here. So that's about the size. It's going to be so cute. And we have 2 ends. So this is the main bag. There's 2 ends that we have as well. And those are going to give it your 3D depth, okay? I selected this zipper, which is Lipstick, is the shade of zipper, and that's a Diane product. And then the mesh also is the shade of Lipstick, and you'll need 2 pieces of the mesh to fit inside, and those are going to be your pockets on both sides of the bag. And we always have interfacing. And I'm actually going to steal my fold over elastic. Just as an example, you will have 4 pieces, 4 cuts of fold over elastic. Those finish off the top and the bottom of the mesh once we assemble our bag. Put that back so I know where I took that from. And then we have all the different pieces. We have end straps. We have, and we have bindings for each one of the ends of the zipper. We have a zipper binding. We have a front border. And you see how these bags here, they have a very fun decorative option for you. So if you do have ribbon at home that you'd like to feature or add some spice to the zipper pouch, that's also an option. And she does talk through in the pattern how to add ribbon inside there as an accent as well. And or if you have some teeny tiny piecing project that you'd like to feature, it really gives it a good opportunity to feature something right there on the front of the pouch. And then we have zipper tabs, of course, and this piece I have not yet made my binding. So this for a medium bag is 11 inches square, and we are going to cut this on the diagonal, make a larger piece, create our bias binding, because we need bias binding to finish off all of the outside edges and around the top of the zipper of this bag. So I have everything ready to go, and I can't wait to really start making these bags because I think it's going to be a fast project, and I'm going to start with the large bag first and then follow every single step for the medium and for the small. So I get them all done at the same time. So that's where I am with this project. And again, on our website, you're going to see the kits for the Open Wide 2.0. You can select any fabric combinations that you'd like and make this your bag. I'm really excited to start stitching up these zipper pouches. I think it's going to be fun to go through the process with each one of the sizes. And, you know, it was funny because I sewed several of the clam up bags, those cute little Diane, I don't know if I have a pattern here. I think I do, but it's a clam up bag. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I started with the smallest one, and the little clam up bags, the small one is truly this big. That was my very first Diane project, thinking, oh, I'll just teach myself how to do this. So lesson learned, I'm going to start with the large zipper pouch and work my way down, perfecting the technique instead of going small and working my way to the large one. That was a lesson learned. So this will be fun. I'm going to record each one of the steps as best as I can so that we can turn that into an educational video as well on YouTube. So you'll see that hopefully sometime this next week if I can really dedicate the time to the videoing and sewing. Next, I'd like to share with you each one of the fabrics that we are featuring in this week's summer savings event. We're having a lot of fun just sharing the savings of these fabrics, and in a way for us, it's a reintroduction of the fabric itself. We introduce our new fabrics in an episode, and try to share that with you. And then sometimes they just get put on a shelf or they're hung up, or, you know, like the rayons that we're featuring this week are, some are new, some have been with us for a while that we just continue to reproduce. And it's just great to really share each one of the fabrics back with you. And the treat is to give you a savings on it as well. So this week, I think I mentioned this earlier, we have 3 different collections. We have our Batik Cotton, 115-inch wide cotton collection that I'm going to share with you, and they're really fun. We have our Jersey Knit collection, which is also really fun, and the Rayon. And right behind me here, I have an array of shades from our Rayon collection. But I want to share one thing first too, because some of you are very new to us. And the Rayon, I'm just going to show you, this is the animal skin in cream pearl. And maybe that doesn't read so well because it is such a light fabric, but it is more for the purposes of seeing the drape on the rayon. And it is just a wonderful fabric to work with for tops, for dresses, for jackets. I mean, I'm wearing the animal skin also, and this is in the Fudgesicle was the shade here. And it's just really a great fabric. You can, as you know from our border batiks, you can change the direction of how you lay out your pattern pieces, whether it be straight of grain or cross grain, but know that it just still needs to be on grain. So watch your biases, I guess is basically what I'm telling you there. And it, again, it's 45 inches wide. We really want you to pre-wash and dry your fabric as you would for wearing it. And we're going to talk about that at the end of this video as well, because that's one of the customer questions I'd like to address today is washing your batiks. The Jersey Knit is, for those of you who are new to us, the Jersey Knit is 100% cotton. There's no lycra or spandex in it because that doesn't take dyes and wax very nicely. It needs to be a natural fiber. And so our Jersey Knit is 100% cotton. And here is one of the featured fabrics. This is the Violetta motif in the shade of Sage. And it is 72 inches wide. Each one of the selvage edges, well, I call it a selvage edge, but in reality, a knit has a definite front and back, or right and wrong side. And when knit fabric is woven, it's woven in the round. So it's like, think about knitting tube sock, or think about knitting, I'm not a knitter, but think about knitting a scarf that is completely round. When that yardage is produced, it's then slit up one side so that it can be prepared for dyeing and dyed, stamped, and then sent to us. Those edges, when it is cut open, our manufacturer stitches. So you know which edge is, of course, your, what now we just, for simple purposes, call it a selvage edge. And so this is stitched. And I just always want you to know what you're going to see if it's the first time you're buying one of our Jersey Knit fabrics, okay? So that is this. It is approximate, it's like a mid-weight knit, okay? So it is not slinky drapey knit. It is a structured knit that is perfect for t-shirts and jackets and sweatshirts. We're making a hoodie out of this month, and it has about 20% stretch when you're pulling it from selvage to selvage, okay? And you'll always know, if you're new to knits, you will always know that where your selvage is, let's say you cut this apart and you don't have your selvages on anymore, or our stitched selvages. Your selvage edge is always going to curl to the back side of your fabric, And your cut edge, which I have right along here, is always going to curl when you stretch it to the front side of your fabric. And after you wash this, it is going to curl. I have a YouTube video, and hopefully I can put a link up here, on how to work with fabric that has been pre-washed, because it does curl, and it might make it a little bit more difficult to lay out your pattern pieces because it's curling on you. There are several techniques, whether it be taping it to your, you can just use painter's tape to keep it in place, or pinning it to, it depends on if you use a cardboard mat or a regular table, but watch that video because there are so many different techniques for laying out your jersey knit flat to make it easy to work with and easy to cut your pattern out. Okay, and the 115-inch wide cotton collection, yes, it is 115 inches wide. It is really amazing for, and probably used 110% for quilt backings. So you want that width, whether or not you're doing a twin, a queen, a king, whatever it happens to be, it is, you can put a very large quilt top on 115-inch wide fabric. And we have an option, all of the yardage that you order from us, every single item has a drop-down menu. There's a little arrow with a drop-down. It typically starts with either a half yard or a yard, whatever the minimum yardage is. Click that button and you'll see all of the ways to buy it. So if you want the size of a backing to fit a queen size quilt, you will see 108 or 3 yards or 3 1/4 yards, whatever it happens to be for a queen. You'll see 3 1/4, which is giving you a piece of fabric that measures 115 by 117, but just think about it being square. So we try to put each one of the most often purchased yardages in those drop downs. So even for the rayon and even for the jersey knit, you will see increments that make sense for garment sewing. You're going to see a yard and 5/8, a yard and 3/4, a yard and 7/8. You're going to see what you need when you are ordering fabric for a garment based off of what's on the back of the garment pattern itself. So I kind of want to tell people to disregard the quantity field when you're ordering yardage, because each one of the items has that drop down. And so click the drop down and you'll see all of the available yardages, unless you want 2 of something. So if you're making 2 queen size quilts and you want the same fabric, then take 3 yards and make the quantity 2, and you'll get 2 cuts of 3 yards. Okay? Lessons on the website. Anyway, so I'm going to stop talking and let's jump into each one of the videos that takes you through what we are featuring in this week's summer savings. The fabrics on the table right now are from our 115-inch wide Batik Cotton collection, and these are the ones that are featured from today through next Thursday in our summer savings event. And it really has kind of a range of shades. I really am happy with what we selected this week. This is the Phoenix motif in the shade of Soft Serve. And it's really just a delicate mix of shades and perfect for any of your quilts or projects that you have at home that are kind of really based off of pastels. And it's just really a beautiful, beautiful shade. I love the mixture of colors. This again is Phoenix Soft Serve. The next 2 fabrics are both our Violetta motif. And that motif is really a tiny, I'm going to try and get this a little bit bigger, but the color change doesn't really, I don't need to open this whole thing up, but you see the little leaves and vine motif, that's Violetta. And this is the color of Coral Peach. And this is, of course, yellow. So this is the Violetta in the shade of yellow. So if you have anything that really just sings with that beautiful shade, it's really, really gorgeous. And it actually, you can see in some of the other fabrics that we have here, it really does coordinate with the sherbet blue, the yellow that's in there, as well as the subtle shade of yellow in our soft serve shade of Phoenix over here. I really, as you know, this is probably one of my favorite fabrics that we have in our 115-inch wide collection. I have made a tablecloth out of this. The whole coordinate that I did for this summer's kitchen coordinate with the oven mitt, placemats, and everything was done with this fabric. And this is the Phoenix motif again, and this is the color of sherbet blue. So it's a combination of the berry shades and periwinkle, and again, the yellow flows through it. It's just great. And I have to tell you, this is the fabric that I used in the lining of the open wide bag or zipper pouches that I shared this week as well. This, I don't know what it is about these colors, but I just think they're gorgeous. The next fabric here is dark berry is the color. And again, this is the Phoenix motif as well. So we're getting into that really beautiful mix of light pinks and corals and eggplant. We have this shade available in, I think, almost every one of our substrates except for the canvas. And so if you like linen, if you like rayon, if you like jersey knit, and of course, this is our 115-inch wide Batik Cotton. This is one of our, it's one of our newest fabrics and colorways that we've added to the collection. This is the motif of Phoenix. That's not new, but the colorway is Robin's Egg Green. And what a mix of colors. It's just the vibrance of the green and the blues together. It's kind of a dusty blue here. So if you're looking at some of these other fabrics and the other blues with it, this is nautical blue. This is a hand-dyed nautical blue. And so this reads nicely with the Robin's Egg Green. However, I think it has a little bit more of a dusty tone to it. So if you pull in, this is Dusty Topaz. That goes really well from a color perspective with this Robin's Egg Green. And so this would make just an amazing quilt backing, I have to say, just with all the blues and the greens. So if you're a blue and green lover, this is definitely the perfect fabric for the back of a quilt or whatever you happen to be doing in your home for home decorating. And again, this is the nautical blue, and this is hand dyed. So we wanted to also feature some of our hand dyes as well. This goes beautifully with the Medora Flora nautical blue and some of the other more primary color cottons that we have as well. This is Royal Garden. And again, it is blues and greens of a different shade family, where this is primarily green. This also has some blues and greens in it with hints of a very dark bluish kind of charcoaly gray kind of flowing throughout it as well. This is spectacular. I've always wanted to put this fabric on my dining room table because we have greenish, kind of a dusty green chair covering, and that would just be beautiful with that. The next fabric is a hand-dyed, and this is the hand-dyed Baltic. So you can see how it contrasts to some of the other blues and greens, and you know, how to describe that shade, I don't quite know, but it is an amazing shade for the back of a quilt, again, or any accessory or binding or anything that you need for your quilt project. And last but not least is the motif of Lady May. And this is the colorway of Dusty Topaz. We have this shade in absolutely every substrate. Some are the flocked together motif, or one of our borders in the Rayon collection we have as a dusty topaz as well. But this is kind of it's really a dusty gray blue, and inside the motif is where you see the deep blue. And I think deep wisteria or some of the other darker blues that we have go very well with this particular fabric. So this is the grouping. I think there's, I don't know if I counted, is there 10 here? Fabrics that are part of this week's summer savings event in our 115-inch wide cotton collection. Our second grouping of fabrics that's featured this week is the 72-inch wide Batik Cotton jersey knit. And I selected a few pastels, some brights, and then into a fall shade over here of our Autumn Fire. So the first fabric is the Phoenix motif, and this is the colorway of Rainbow Sherbet. So it's a really fun mixture of subtle pastels on it's kind of a creamy background. It's not exactly white, but it's really kind of a creamy background. The next fabric is the Violetta motif, and this is the colorway of Sage. And it has a little bit of yellow and a mixture of the sagey greens from the highs and lows with a little bit of, it's kind of like a little turquoise woven throughout. The next colorway, actually I'm going to flip these around a little bit. The next colorway is a hand-dyed fabric, and so there's no motif, and this is coral pink, which goes really well with the Rainbow Sherbet. So if you were going to make something that is color blocked, these two fabrics, would go very well together. The next fabric is Violetta motif again, and this is the colorway of Perry Rose. So it's a really beautiful blue with hints of strawberry and teal, and I should say turquoise, kind of flowing throughout the motif. Perry Rose. And then we have our bright and bold Valentine Pink. This is one of your favorites. This is the Violetta motif as well. And it has a little bit of purple and coral and various shades of the pink. So this is Valentine Pink. Here is the Gardenista Vine motif, and this is the colorway of Deep Wisteria. So it has that blue background. You see how it goes really beautifully with this hand-dyed midnight blue. I should really show these at the same time. But it's really a rich blue. It's not black, it's blue. And this has periwinkle and a little bit of, I don't know if you would call it a grape kind of colorway that is woven within the motif here. And again, this is the Gardenista Vine in Deep Wisteria. The other thing that I like to share too when we're looking at some of these fabrics a little bit more close up is the sizing of the motifs. You can kind of see that the leaf on the Gardenista Vine is tinier than the Violetta motif. And if I were to put a dime on here, it probably would cover one of the little leaves on the Violetta. So that's kind of the sizing difference between these two. And then the last one that we're featuring this week is our Phoenix motif again, same as the Rainbow Sherbet over here, but this is the Phoenix motif in the shade of Autumn Fire. I think we've been producing Autumn Fire for quite some time now, and it's just a gorgeous, I have several tops and actually a hoodie made from this particular fabric. It's just a really, really beautiful all over colorway in fall tones. So those are featured 72-inch wide Batik Cotton jersey knit. Our last featured fabric grouping is our Batik Rayon, which is 45 inches wide. And I think I'm just going to lift up each one of the hangers here and we'll go through each one of the fabrics. The first one is our Medora Flora motif in the shade of Tuxedo Brass, and I will show you. I'm trying to figure out how to show how large these motifs are. And basically the sunflower shape is about an inch. And the rest of it just kind of fills in with little tiny dots of that gold shade to it. The next fabric is the same motif, but this is deep wisteria. So here we have a black and tan, and this is our blue background, a really, really deep blue with periwinkle and lighter shades of lilac in the motif. This is our Lady May motif in the colorway of Merlot. And Merlot happens to be one of my favorite fabrics. I just love the color. The next fabric is Gardenista Vine. And can you see, the other reason why I really want to do this is to show you how much drape these fabrics have. And they're just beautiful for tops and skirts and flowy jackets and dresses. This is Gardenista Vine in the shade of Autumn Fire. And we also featured our Jersey Knit in the Phoenix motif in the same shade as Autumn Fire here. And we're introducing a hand-dyed into this week's collection. This is the hand-dyed Coral Peach, and it's really a striking peach. So you can see the difference between kind of the corals that are in the Gardenista Vine Autumn Fire. They're much richer, deeper shades than the Coral Peach. And here is one of our newer fabrics. I've made a top out of this, and I will definitely reference that top. This is the Valhalla motif in the shade of Pastel Delight. And that actually goes very nicely with that peach. And with this green. This is the Lady May motif again, much like Merlot, in the shade of Grasshopper. So you see kind of how I just love the brightness and the bold of the green, even against that Pastel Delight. Another lighter shade still is our Phoenix in the shade of Soft Serve. And then the last, and this is one that we featured also in our 115-inch wide collection. I'm going to slide this over just a little bit more. And the last featured Batik Rayon is our animal skin motif, and this is the shade of Cream Pearl. It is just lovely. I have not made anything out of this particular colorway. I have fabric washed to make a top. I was going to make a jacket and a top to go together. The jacket is going to be out of our Majestic Blue, which will really bring out the deep tones, the undertones of this motif. So those are our Batik Rayon featured fabrics for this week. Now, and I forgot to mention on the video when I went through each one of the fabrics that this week we have changed it up a little bit and are not requiring you to hit a promotion code. Do you want to know how many times I got the chat message that said, what was that promotion code again? What was that promotion code again? So we decided that we were going to apply the automatic 20% discount on these items, and so you don't have to worry about the promotion code anymore. So I'm helping you out and also helping myself out at the same time. Okay. The last thing I want to talk to you about is a customer question, and kind of just it really got me thinking a little bit more about care instructions. With any one of our fabrics, pre-wash your fabrics with a product called Synthropol. And we have this available on our website. Synthropol is a little bottle, about 4 ounces or so, and there's 2 versions. One is for top load machine and one is for a front load machine. And so the front load machine requires a low foam version simply because we don't want extra suds. we don't have a lot of water going around in our front load washing machines. And there are some top loads that don't use a lot of water. They're water efficient. And so you can also use low foam for those as well. I just normally know that top load machines typically use a lot more water. So there are two versions, and use lukewarm water and a cool rinse and an extra rinse. Your wash is complete. Dry your fabric the way you would treat your finished garment or your finished quilt or whatever it happens to be. I happen to always put my fabric in the dryer and I dry it until it's dry. I just don't want to have any issues, and if it takes a little bit of pressing before I lay out my pattern piece, or before I cut out my squares for a quilt, or before I finish off my quilt backing, then so be it. I just want to make sure that I don't have any issues. The question that often comes up is using color catchers. And typically, it's not a question of whether to use it, it's a question of what it means. So color catchers are, and a lot of you may know this and a lot of you may use them. I don't. And I only see one purpose in a color catcher. And a color catcher, when you're working with fabric in a washing machine, really is your eyes into what's happening with the fabric in the washing machine. It will take color and it will grab color and it will always show you color. So for example, if you put a color catcher in with a load of jeans, it will come out blue. Jeans will never, ever, ever stop releasing color, probably. It's like having a white sock or a white t-shirt in with jeans by mistake. It's going to grab color. And that's what color catchers do. They grab color. They don't treat fabric. They don't do anything but be the eyes in your washing machine. And having color on them, let's say we take our, I'm just going to grab this fabric, but this Pinot Noir fabric, which is really a bold color, and we use Synthropol, we put it in our washing machine, and we put a color catcher in there. I will guarantee you that the color catcher will have color on it because it will always grab color. And there's always surface dyes on fabric that you receive in the mail. Every one of our batiks is going to have a little bit of dye and a little bit, you may even feel the wax. And that's what is being released in a washing machine when you are pre-washing your fabric. And so it's going to have dye on it. I then test my fabric to make sure that there isn't any additional dye transfer of any kind. And so I will take just a corner of my fabric, like just a snippet of a corner of the fabric, and really, really hot water, and squeeze excess water using a white cloth or a paper towel, just to see if there's any additional discharge. And if there is, then maybe it's a candidate for retain. Maybe then there's just something that needs to stop releasing color. And so when that happens, give us a call, because we don't want you to unnecessarily wash and wash and wash your fabric with a dye catcher to make sure that you continue doing that until the color is gone. And that really isn't the purpose. We just want to make sure that we follow the right procedures for that. So definitely give us a call or start a chat message or send me an email and I'll help you out. But wash it once with Synthropol or Retain, dry it, test it, and then we'll take it from there. And I will say too that the only time you should not pre-wash your fabric is when you have a pre-cut fabric. So when you're quilting, let's say you're quilting, I don't really see it applicable for garment fabrics, but let's say you're quilting and you purchase a 5-inch square pack, a 10-inch square pack, a jelly roll that has 2.5-inch strips, or shapes like little bird shapes that have fusing on the back of them. Don't pre-wash those. that will distort the fabric. Even if it's a batik or a hand-dyed fabric or whatever it happens to be, don't pre-wash that because it's cut that way for a purpose. What you want to do is, after you have made your quilt project, then pre-wash it with the right product. And that right product should be Synthropol or another like product. So, okay, now I'm done. So anyway, was there anything else I wanted to talk about as it relates to customer questions? I don't think so. So happy Fabric Friday, and we're gonna keep working on these projects. Again, I'm really excited to get started on the zipper pouches and get them stitched up. And Kathy is busily working on the jacket, and that's going to be so much fun to see here coming up shortly. And then we'll get working on I think I'm going to do the hoodie next, the jersey knit hoodie. And I have also already washed the fabric for the linen tank top and the canvas that we're going to make our overalls with. So each step is coming along the way. So, okay, I'm done. Have a wonderful Friday and enjoy your weekend, whether it be inside, outside, or whatever it happens to be, reading a book, watching a movie. But regardless, if you are sewing, keep sewing, smiling, and sharing.